There's a moment in this interview that no network ever replayed. Not because it wasn't important, but because it was too dangerous to replay, without explaining what it actually contained. Bette Midler's hand goes up first, before the host finishes framing the question, before the clip has finished loading on the screen behind them, before anyone in the studio has settled into the comfortable understanding that this will be a standard celebrity takes shot at Trump segment of the kind that fills approximately 40 minutes of cable news airtime on any given Tuesday. Her hand goes up the way a teacher raises a hand to stop a student from continuing down the wrong path. Not aggressively, not dramatically, but with the particular authority of someone who has been doing the reading and has decided that the conversation needs to happen differently from the way it is being set up. She says, "Before you play that clip, I want to read something first." She reaches into the bag beside her chair. She produces a printed document, and before the host has finished deciding whether to redirect or allow, she is already reading. But to understand what she is about to read, and why the studio goes still in the specific way it goes still, and why the clip circulates for the next 72 hours in the way that clips only circulate when they contain something that resists being summarized, we have to go back to August 2020, to a rose garden and a live tweet session, and the apology that followed, and the 6 years between that apology and this studio. August 25, 2020, the Republican National Convention, second night. Melania Trump speaks from the White House Rose Garden, the newly renovated Rose Garden, the one she redesigned, the one that removed the colorful plantings that had been there since Jackie Kennedy and replaced them with formal white rose. She delivers a speech about kindness, about the Be Best initiative, about the importance of civility in American discourse. Midler watches from home. She live tweets. The tweets are fast, pointed, and in 2 cases, wrong in ways that matter. The observation that Melania still can't speak English is factually incorrect. Melania Trump is fluent in English, Slovenian, and reportedly multiple other languages, a fact that Midler acknowledges the following morning when she issues her apology. The apology is genuine. It is not a PR maneuver. She says specifically, America is made up of people who speak with all kinds of accents, and they are all welcomed always. The accent mockery was wrong. She said it. She walked it back. Trump responds to the apology with the word psycho, not to the original tweets, to the apology, not to the moment of error, but to the moment of correction, to the specific act of a person publicly acknowledging they got something wrong and doing better. This is the detail that lodges in the record, and that the studio segment 6 years later is built around. The apology is the event. Not because it was dramatic, but because of what the response to it revealed about the person responding. The document Midler produces in the studio is a printed transcript of Melania's 2016 MSNBC interview, the one in which Melania, describing herself to an interviewer, says she speaks 5 languages: Slovenian, English, French, Italian, and German. The transcript is real. The claims are documented. Midler does not read it to mock Melania's language skills. She reads it because of the sentence that follows the language list in the original interview. The sentence in which Melania describes her immigration to the United States, the process by which she obtained her working visa, the sequence of events that brought her from Slovenia to New York to the White House. The sentence, in its original form, describes a process that immigration lawyers subsequently examined, and that journalists subsequently reported raised questions about the specific visa category used and whether the modeling work she described was consistent with the visa type she held during that period. The sentence, read aloud in a studio in 2026, with 6 years of additional documentation in the record and the Kimmel widow joke controversy still warm in the news cycle, lands differently from how it landed in 2016. Not because the words have changed, because the context around them has. Midler reads it once, flat. No editorial inflection. She sets the transcript down. She looks at the host. She says, "She is a remarkable woman. She speaks 5 languages. She came to this country and built a life here. Those things are true, and I have always believed them." A pause. The studio holds. What is also true is that the man who called me a psycho for apologizing, is married to an immigrant who used this country's systems the same way every immigrant uses this country's systems, with documents, with a process, with the bureaucratic architecture that his administration has spent 2 years telling everyone else they cannot use. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't lean into the sentence. She says it in the register of someone arriving at a conclusion they have been circling for 6 years and have finally decided to complete. The word illegal, when it was applied to Melania, I was wrong to use it, and I said so the next morning. I stand by that. The question I've been sitting with since then is, why does that word get applied to some people and not others? What is the scaffolding underneath the decision about who gets called illegal and who gets called a beautiful immigrant? The host starts to respond. Midler continues. In 2019, after I apologized, he called me a washed-up psycho. Not for the thing I said that was wrong, for saying I was wrong about it. She picks the transcript back up. So I want to read one more thing. She reads the section of the 2016 interview where Melania describes her values. The importance of treating people with dignity, the importance of leading by example, the importance of the Be Best initiative and its core message, that the way you speak to people matters, that words have weight, that a culture of cruelty produces consequences. She reads it in the same flat voice she used for the immigration section. She reads all of it. She does not editorialize. She lets the transcript make the comparison without assistance. When she sets it down the second time, the studio is quiet in the particular way it goes quiet when a room has received something that requires processing before it can generate a response. The host says, I think people watching need a moment with that. Midler nods once. So do I, she says. I've been taking the moment for 6 years. This is the sentence that the clip focuses on when it circulates. Not the immigration argument, not the policy analysis. This sentence, delivered in the unhurried, slightly tired register of a woman who turned 80 the previous year and has been in public life for longer than most of the people watching the clip have been alive, because it contains the complete emotional arc of the thing in 11 words. 6 years of taking the moment. 6 years of sitting with the apology, with the response to the apology, with the word psycho delivered to someone for saying they were wrong, with the question of what the scaffolding is underneath the decision about who gets grace and who gets called illegal and who gets called a criminal and who gets called a patriot. The clip is online in 7 minutes. Trump posts at 11:52 p.m. The Post calls Midler one of the most dishonest people in entertainment and a total disaster who nobody watches anymore. It notes that her Broadway shows failed and her movies never made any money. It does not address the 2016 transcript. It does not address the scaffolding question. It does not address the apology or the response to the apology or the word psycho or the 6 years between the word and the studio. It addresses box office performance and Broadway ticket sales. The Post is screenshot at 11:55 p.m. and placed beside the clip. On the left, a woman sitting in a studio chair, reading from a printed transcript in a flat voice, asking a question about scaffolding, saying she has been taking the moment for 6 years. On the right, a post about Broadway ticket sales. The split screen, shared 200,000 times by morning, requires no caption. The scaffolding of the response is as visible as any scaffolding Midler described. You can see exactly what it is built to hold up and exactly why it cannot hold it without the support of something that was never there. By the following morning, the 2016 MSNBC transcript has been read and shared in its complete form by enough people that the specific section about the visa process is the most linked paragraph in any Melania Trump article published in the previous 18 months. Immigration lawyers post threads. Journalists resurface their 2016 reporting on the visa question. None of it changes the fundamental record. The record is what it is, has been what it is, has been available to anyone who wanted to look at it since 2016. What changes is that a woman reached into a bag on a cable news set and read it aloud in a flat voice and asked a question about scaffolding that the response at 11:52 p.m. did not answer. Midler does not respond to the Truth Social post. She posts one thing the following morning. Not a statement, not a counter-argument, not a thread. 3 words, 6 years, waited. The post receives 400,000 likes by noon. It is shared with one consistent caption, applied independently by people who have no connection to each other, in 17 different languages. She said everything. The apology from 2020 is still in the record. The word psycho is still in the record. The transcript is still in the record. And the scaffolding question, what is underneath the decision about who gets called illegal and who gets called a patriot, is still open, still unanswered by the Post at 11:52 p.m., still sitting in the split screen between a woman reading a transcript and a man calculating box office receipts, waiting for the answer that the 6 years of record have made impossible to provide without confirming the question. The people who subscribe to this channel don't come for drama. They come for the moments nobody else is willing to show. Join them, subscribe, turn on notifications. The next truth is already on the table.